Alright, so today we're going to do a slightly shorter one while I'm doing my Pokemon move, and we're going to do a beach house and a Greek revival building. And I really like the Greek revival style. It's quite dramatic, it's very cool. But first we'll go with the beach house. So we're going with the colourful sort of style beach house. And so bright colours, big balconies, big windows, and big gabled roofs. Balconies and windows, that's something that makes sense because you're on a beach, you want view, you want air. Now in my next upload I should have my palette wall up. It's really great to be able to grab just a block or two out of the wall and place them next to each other just to see how the different colours reflect. So this first beach house we're going to do, I want to use the yellow, but I want to do a slightly more retro theme. So instead of using the bright white from say the floorboards, which is great for beach houses, we're going to use some of the tiles and the sort of dirtier looking wood. Now first thing we need to do is build a relatively square structure. It doesn't have to be perfectly square, and we want to cut off about 3 or 4 blocks for the balcony. Now a beach house is almost always going to be raised, so just use a stand-in block to draw out your plan, and then we want to actually build one level up, and we want to start with a white border almost always with these beach houses to give them that look. Once we've done that, we want to make whatever height we want it to be. Like I always say, 4 or 5 is the best. And then we can change our front balcony over to wood. It could be tile or the white floorboard if you're using white floorboard, but we just want to go with something a little different here. Again, we're going to be using a lot of the white wooden pillars, and they are fantastic for the beach houses because we want those long frameworks holding up that big pointy gable roof. One thing to remember with these wooden pillars is they take up a whole block obviously, but they don't connect all the way. So when we're doing a balcony around, we are going to have a gap. Keep that in mind if you don't like it, but if you use something like these vertical lattice pillars, it's not going to look out of place. I actually think it looks nice still. Now this is the first test of the roof. We end up doing a wraparound with a gable. But you can just do a pointy gable roof from the front like this. There's nothing wrong with that. But because I'm still working out the best way to make gables sort of look seamless because of that sharp tooth edge, we're going to do a wraparound. So same as we've done, we're just going to wrap it around instead of tear it up, just for like 2 levels. And once we've done that, we're going to pop in the windows and doors. We could just do a wraparound roof all the way around, but once I put in this nice white window combo, I really do want to have that nice high gable roof because it feels like you're getting a bit more air in the house, which is part of the architecture. So as well, I wanted to have, like I said, like a retro build, so I thought the Art Deco block was very retro and it fit in really well. And we're going to pop a big brick fireplace in as well, and I know I'm setting this into a cliff, so I don't need to worry about the back not being the same colour. So now that we've got our 2 layers of wraparound, we can put our gable in, our pointy part. And so I'm drawing it in with the tiles because they match well and they've got that retro feel. And then I just bring it one more out and wrap it around a 3rd time. And then for the rest of it, we're going to pop in wooden brackets. So you can play around with exactly how you do that, 2 or 3 layers. But generally, if you're going to put a wraparound and a gable roof together, put 1 less layer than you're planning to, because it kind of usually ends up that you'll need to wrap 1 more around when you're finished. Now once we've done that, we're going to pop in same windows on either side just to give the symmetrical look. And it is pretty close to done, the most basic version of it now. We can do a few things like add in a nice little white strip there to give it a bit more detail. But we'll also try a different style as well. So because it's a beach house, we'll go with a nautical theme, and we're going to do blue and white stripes, and we're using a mixture of stucco and plaster and a little bit of sunset dyed blocks as well, and all dyed in whites and blues. This is the stucco dyed white, not the white plaster. It gives a really nice eggshell feeling. I really like it. I'm going to use it more. So something different we're trying here as well is we're going to do some sort of thicker supports at the base of this one and put in some of the carved murals, the slime grates, as decorations on the side. And because we've got a little bit more of a bright white here, we're going to use picket fencing as well. And because we've got this little side area on the left, we're going to do more greenery. So this is probably a little bit more of a modern-er version than the first one. But we'll also have a quick look at a two-story. So for the two-story, exactly the same concept for the bottom part, just make a second floor that is exactly the same width and height. And then we want to do a start of a wraparound, and we're going to use straw instead of roof blocks here because it gives it a nice tiki feel. Just a little bit more finicky because you have to go around and chisel everything. For this two-story for now, I've just gone with a wraparound roof. So because we're not using roof tiles, that just means making a pyramid out of blocks and chiseling it up. And always to give it a bit of an interesting effect, don't always go straight up, try and go two in sometimes to give some flat edges. We could though do a gabled roof with the straw or with the roof blocks on a two-story beach house. It's just going to be quite large. And as well, you can see here we can pop in some windows. Dyed white's always a good idea, and we just need to chisel with our diagonal and concave to get them to sit inwards. So I've popped them on one part of the beach. It's actually in the shade, which I didn't want, but they still look quite nice. They just don't reflect as much light as I wanted. And now we'll do Greek Revival. It's going to be quick because it's very symmetrical, but it's based on modern homes based on Greek architecture. So what we're looking at then is big two-story columns, big gabled roofs, and rectangular dimensions. So first thing we want to do is work out what's going to look good with the columns. Stucco seems like a good idea, but I'm actually going to go with the white dyed hardwood columns because they match the colour of the columns, the round ones, a bit better, I think, and they add a little bit more of an interesting effect. The most important thing is going to be with a Greek Revival building is planning out where your columns are before you build too much. It needs to be even. The most important thing with these is to have an even amount of columns at the front of the building, and they're only ever going to be at the front of the building. So once you've worked out how many you want, you can then go and build your rectangular structure behind, and again, it's probably always going to be very rectangular, these buildings. So we don't want to go too high per floor because it's going to be very large. So we're going to go 4 high for each of the floors, and in between I've put the carved castle tiles dyed white because they very much match again with the columns. So straight off the bat, we've already got that basic idea of what it's going to look like, and I'm just going to pop in a little extra feature at the front to help me get inspired to build. Now, because we've got a 3-wide door, obviously we could use the big white door, but let's try and think a little different. We're just going to go 2 plain white dyed doors, and we're going to put carved tiles all around them and up into that middle cut section to add a interesting feature that's going to draw your eye down to the door between the columns, which is something that this architecture often will try and do. Once we've done that as well, we want to put small rectangular windows both on the top and the bottom. Again, we're just doing a lot of simple rectangles in this one, which is why it won't take as long. Obviously as well, when we're building, we can do whatever we like, but if we're trying to do the Greek Revival style, we cannot have a balcony on the front second floor. It has to be those columns going all the way up like that to be part of that architecture. But remember, you can always mix and match this stuff to make something that's yours. So just quickly, I wanted to show that I tried to do a perfect gable up, but it was just too large for me. It's not a bad roof. You could do it just as a pyramid, but I wanted to experiment with trying to do some 2-ups and then 1-ups to make it a little more, a little less imposing. So I ended up going 2 up and then 1 up, but as well with the Greek Revival, you're going to usually have some decoration on the front of that gable. If you plan it right, you could have a clock. I didn't. So we've got 2 of the nice little eagle decorations. And I just wanted to show as well, you can also use the dyed white carpet is actually going to be a great block for this. And stuff like the fountains work great as decorations. Also as well, for the greenery, you can use shrubs. Generally it's going to be very symmetrical like the house. So you could also use the leaf blocks as well. Now, I forgot to mention with the roof, the reason we didn't do a lip on that front gable is for the reason of that's the architecture. They don't really have a lip on the roof and it wouldn't have looked within the style, but you could mix and match and it might look a little bit nicer this type if we had some of those wooden brackets and a lip. But that is the Greek Revival style. Currently, I am working on moving my Pokemon stuff and I'm going to have a video out about that soon. But if there's any architecture stuff you want to see, please just let me know. Thanks, bye.